You're listening to the Film Festival Secrets podcast. I'm Chris Holland. This is one of the pilot episodes of a new season of the podcast. I'm currently holding a fundraising campaign to pay for a full new season, which will precede the release of the second edition of my book, Film Festival Secrets, a handbook for independent filmmakers. You can learn more about that at getmoresecrets.com. If you become a part of the community while the campaign's still running, you can listen in on these podcast episodes as they're being recorded and ask questions of my guests. I'd like to thank Seed and Spark and Film Freeway for their early support of the campaign, and I'd like to thank all of the partner festivals and backers so far for jumping in and helping us get to 96% of the goal. So you've got a couple days left to pledge. Please jump on in. If it's too late, you can also look at getmoresecrets.com and see how to pre-order the second edition of the book, even if you missed the campaign. My guest today is Jarod Neece, who's been with the South by Southwest Film Festival for 13 years, since 2002. He's the festival's producer and senior programmer, and he oversees the film festival and conference and manages the daily festival operations. You'll also find him on juries and advisory boards for festivals like Cannes, Sundance, Fantastic Fest. You can see him around numerous film conferences. And he's also the co-founder and editor of the popular Austin food blog, tacojournalism.com. We're going to talk about all of those things, including his new upcoming book, The Tacos of Texas. But we're also going to talk about film festivals, too.
My official title is producer and senior programmer. The producer part is just I've been here a long time and I know stuff, and I try to help people out when I can and take on a lot of things myself, production-wise, and then other aspects of the job. There's a lot of people here. There's not too many people, but we have about 9 or 10 full-time employees at South by Southwest Film. About 120 or plus for the whole company. For the programmer side, senior programmer, again, it just means I've been here a long time. Our programming crew is Janet Pearson, who's the head of the festival, Jim Colmar, myself, and Claudette Godfrey are the main programmers. Claudette Godfrey focuses on the short films. Jim Colmar focuses on docs and all the international submissions. And I focus a lot on narrative features and genre films. But that said, we all program a little bit of everything. So, we're not writing code. We're not that kind of programmer. We're just watching films and using our knowledge to figure out which ones will work best for the festival each year. Each year we get about 7,500 submissions. That breaks down to about 5,000 short films, 2,500 feature films, and that's a mix of doc and narrative.
So you also used to be involved with the conference. Are you still intimately involved there, or not so much?
Yeah, Austin Noward is our conference manager. A lot of the programmers, in addition to watching films, we also help program the conference. We use, I'm sure we'll talk about the panel picker. We also curate ideas based on what we see the needs are, depending on what the panel picker gives. We're actively looking for figuring out who our keynote should be each year, and then programming the films, we try to see tie-ins based on that content, depending on, maybe a director would be good for a conversation, or we do cast and crew panels. Definitely, we're all involved in the conference programming. Austin definitely heads that up.
Tell people exactly what the panel picker is.
The panel picker is an online kind of a crowdsourced submission tool that we use to help us pick our conference sessions each year. It started in 2007 with the Interactive Conference using it. From there, we started using it. We, being film and music conferences, started using it in about 2010 officially. And it's a way that we reach out to people we know, people we don't know, past panelists, filmmakers, people who've attended the conference, and then just anyone else can submit an idea for what they think a good panel session would be. at South by Southwest, be it in film, interactive music, education. And, that breaks down to, we have about, it breaks down to 40% of the vote comes from our advisory board, which are people that we trust in each of these conferences, or people we respect, filmmakers, people in the film business, the interactive world. They're just the advisory board, the people that we kind of look to say, maybe they know things that we don't know about in certain areas. And then 30% of that, the score comes from the staff, which is the internal staff. We vote on all the panel sessions too. And then the other 30% comes from the general public. So it's a mix of those three groups of people who kind of choose the panels. And ultimately, we are the ones deciding, kind of curating all that content into each of our conferences. The interactive conference uses the panel picker for the majority of their conference programming. For the film festival, I would say it's about 40 to 50% of our conference programming. And then the music and education conferences also use the panel picker. And I'm not sure the percentage of their entries that come from that. But yeah, it's been great. It's been, ways to find new people, new voices. It's not, we were doing, for many years, it was just kind of copy and paste, same panels every year, same speakers. And it was a way to open it up to a larger audience. And, everyone sitting in a panel room, it's like, oh, I can't believe they did this. I wish I could do something way better. And so we're like, okay, well, send us that idea. And, it's been a way.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Sure.
It sounds like it could go either way to make your job easier or harder, but either way, it's more interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How has the panel picker changed since you first introduced it in 2007?
I think the interface gets better every year. Before it was just one guy, kind of a friend of the festival who built it for us, and it was pretty DIY, like everything here at South by. I think every year it gets a little bit better. We kind of streamline the questions, and some years I think there may have been more questions and maybe too many questions. Kind of, there's a huge kind of hurdle to get over to submit your panel. I think we've ended up with a pretty good subset of questions that we ask people: panel title, a brief description of what the panel will be, some questions that will be answered, who the speakers will be. We want to see diversity in the panels. We want to see diversity in the speakers. We're looking for dance sessions, solo sessions, which are just, someone giving a presentation. We're looking for, all kind of different things. And you can submit meetup ideas. You can submit, we have a lot of different opportunities for us to get ideas and content through the panel picker. And yeah, I think the way it's changed is it's got better every year. I don't know if there's a way to, I think we get more submissions every year too. So that maybe is a thing that it's changed. But
yeah, I think the word has gotten out that it's something you can do now. Right. Early on, certainly when I submitted my first panel picker proposal and it got selected, I don't think the competition was quite as fierce. So, sure. That's not to say I was a terrible panelist. And I actually really enjoyed the opportunity to say, here's what I know, and here are the people I can bring to bear on this topic. Do you have a favorite panel that got selected out of the panel picker?
I'd probably say, every year people tell us, oh, you should do this or you should do that. I think one maybe drunk night at Fantastic Fest, Tim League was like, man, you should do a drunk panel and get all the distributors drunk, and that way they'll tell you all their secrets, because they never tell anyone any secrets. But maybe if they get them drunk, they'll open up. And so due to certain laws, TABC, we had to call it the highly spirited panel, and it did end up happening. And we, it was great. I think it was definitely funny. It was interesting. There was a few distributors: Tim League, Matt Dindler, Tom Quinn, Dustin, from the Roadside Attractions. It got crazy, and the one thing we didn't realize, or we didn't really think about, was the when you have a drunk panel, you end up with drunk panelists. And so the post panel, there was some needing for, taking care of people more than we would for, just a normal panel session. And, but anyway, I think it was one of our better, more unique things we've ever done.
Got it. Do you know if that's available to see online anywhere?
I don't believe so. I think that Tim Lee may have bought all the rights and destroyed them. But if you were, yeah, you had to be there, kind of thing.
Yeah, funny. So let's talk a little bit about the film selection. Remind me, as I did not write that number down, how many submissions you got to get every year?
Last year was 7,500, and
Wow.
we usually see about a 10% increase. So we will see if that continues.
Yeah. And as recently as a couple of years ago, most of that was coming in on DVD. Is that right?
Sure, DVD. That was the main form of entry for many years. When I started, it was VHS, and then moved into DVD, and now it's solely links. We don't accept any hard media. It's all preferably Vimeo links. We don't say only Vimeo links, but we feel that that's the best way for us to watch films and for workflows and things like that. We recommend Vimeo.
Oh, you sound like such an old man talking about VHS.
Yeah, I know. We had all these shelves. We would hold all the VHS tapes in our office, and then we were like, "Oh, we got to build more shelves." But then the next year we got DVDs, and it was like, we could store twice as many films by DVD. So
right, yeah, then that seemed like an advance, and it was. I know that in recent years at festivals I've worked for and with, it was just getting harder and harder to get people, volunteer screeners to come in and pick up DVDs because they knew that watching films online was an option.
yeah, it's changed a lot in our workflow, especially. I mean, when we see something we like, we just take the link and we send it to, 4 or 6 screeners that we feel like would be good to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, it was, here's a batch of films, go and watch them, bring them back 2 weeks later. Maybe there's some good stuff in there, but we won't know for 2 weeks. But now the process is speeded up really, infinitely quicker, because as soon as something is good that we see, or one of our screeners watches, it kind of, it comes to the top of the pile, and we start getting additional watches on it. So the good things are known much quicker.
Do you feel like that fills up your virtual list of things we're definitely going to play a lot faster? Because one thing I've always said to filmmakers is it's a lot harder to get programmed later in the process because the programmers have already fallen in love with something.
True. That is, we definitely, we have to slow down a little bit, because in the past it was like as soon as something was good, we were like, okay, let's maybe invite it, and now we have to kind of take a beat, because we are seeing things in a different way, and we should, we try to. The way we do it is we want to see everything that's on the table before we make our selection, because we're only taking 120 to 150 feature films, 110 to 130 short, and so there's a lot of things out there. And then yes, we do get a lot of things at the end, that are just being finished, and the numbers, the percentage wise of what is chosen based on when it is submitted is, there's definitely a higher percentage of the things that come in November are accepted based on the number of things that came in June. So, we just say only submit your film one time and submit it whenever it's ready. If it's ready in June and that's it, you're not going to do anything else, then submit it then. If don't submit it, a rough cut in June and think you're going to work for 4 months and keep working on it. We'd rather you send it in the late, in November, whenever you're ready to go, and this is the best thing you can send us. And then if you need a couple week extension because you really need to get finished whatever you need to finish on your film, then send it in. But don't wait for your color correction and things like that to ask for a month extension. And don't ask for an extension in December when your film's been finished for a year. The extensions we give are based on films that are just still being worked on and the newer things. So if your film's done, you please submit it by the deadline, which is November 1st this year.
Early on in the process, when you first open up your call for submissions, is it basically the 4 or 5 of you hitting the submissions raw, or do you wait until your volunteer screeners can have a chance to look at it for you?
We've actually talked a lot about that this year, because we have a finite number of people that we trust to watch these movies, and that we trust their taste. That over the years we've accumulated around 100 screeners, and these are filmmakers, friends, professors, just people we trust their taste in film, and we think they know what we're looking for. We start watching now. We've been watching for the past month mostly all of us are pretty deep in. And then when we watch something, it helps with the watch numbers that are needed, the total watch numbers, because one film needs to be watched at least 2 times by screeners, or we can accept or get rid of a film based on one of the senior programmer, like myself and Claudette and Jim and Janet. If we're watching it and we know it's very good, or we know it's really not going to work, then that's going to save 2 watches down the road for our screeners. And because there aren't, we don't have this huge bank of people who can watch films for us, we try to watch as many as we can. I know that we're doing, we're still working full-time jobs during the fest. I mean, right now we're working 9 to 5, and then at home, we're watching movies on nights and weekends, and that starts now all the way through January. So a lot of movies need to be watched, so we're just watching as many as we can. The screeners are watching as many as they can, and each year it works out.
What's your policy on folks sending in a later version of their film? Maybe they figure out that if they just take out this 1 minute, the film is way better. Can they send you the new version, or how does that work?
They can ask, for sure. Depending on what time of year it is, what status their film is. If it's something that we really like, then we'd like to see a new cut, then we will accept it. It's a case by case basis. We try not to accept too many things just because of the number. And if everyone sent us a new cut, that goes from 7,500 things to worry about to 15,000, and it's just it's a lot of information and data, and we can't let everyone sit a new cut. But if you feel that it really needs, something happened, or you cut something out, and you reworked something that you think makes a big difference, and you can definitely ask us.
Yeah, I feel like the standard answer to that question has always been, well, sure, you can send it. We might not get to it, but there have been a number of festivals, I think yours included, where the official language is, just send us the one cut and we're not going to watch anything else. And I can understand how there might be leeway on a case-by-case basis, but that gets crazy, especially with the digital, being able to replace a digital version so quickly. I think those requests come a little faster these days, a little more often.
Sure.
So you mentioned genre films as one of the sections that you're involved in programming. What is it that you're looking for in a genre film? Because it's hard to think of a territory there that hasn't been trodden over and over and over again.
Sure, that is true. Being that we only play a smaller number of genre films than, say, a Fantastic Fest or Sitges or one of the bigger genre fests where they're playing, all 100 and plus films that they're playing are genre films. For us, it's, we have the 10 film at night section, and then we play genre films, throughout the other programs. So, it could be between, 10 to 30 genre films in the program each year. We definitely, we find that the genre filmmaking, that category does tend to lend itself to a little bit more newer ideas or fresh voices or things happening that are new. And there's definitely, there's a lot of zombies. There's a lot of people trying to make movies in the woods. There's a lot of raping. There's a lot of, things.
I guess we should qualify here that genre films are horror, sci-fi, fantasy, things that are outside the realm of sort of real world drama, right?
Sure. Yeah, they have some sort of fantasy, horror, sci-fi element to them. That would be a genre film. The way the film festival world says it. Some years we play films with zombies, or there's just so many different ways to program a 10 film section based on all these things we get. It's just we want a diverse group from different. We try to get not things from New York and LA. We try to get things that are made by female filmmakers. We want things that, fresh voices, weird things, things that make us uncomfortable. There's all kind of, that program is really fun to watch all the submissions for. There's a lot of good stuff coming in.
You mentioned wanting to find things from outside the usual sources. Are there any sort of unusual sources that are kind of blowing up right now, either countries or regions of the U.S., and something where you're going, wow, there's a really great stuff coming out of this city. What the heck is going on there?
Sure. I think for genre films, Spain has always has been kind of had a lot of cool, interesting things coming out of it. South America, Argentina, and Chile, especially. And then there's the typical New York and LA guys, but there's fresh voices in those cities too. Somebody like Joel Patikris from I think he's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Who made Buzzard, and so we're just trying to find. And then there's just Korea for sure. South Korea has a lot of cool, interesting work. Yeah, those are the main ones that come to the top of my head.
So I've got a question from Christian Kaniga to ask if South by Southwest is very U.S. slanted. How many U.S. films films from outside the U.S. get programmed as opposed to domestic stuff?
We definitely play a lot of U.S. indie films. We play, films from U.S. distributors. Those are our bigger films, like this year, Trainwreck, and the bigger films are usually the U.S. studio-based films. Our competitions are mainly U.S. The 10 films and the doc and the narrative competitions are, but we have played film like 10,000 Kilometers, which was a Spanish film in there. We have a whole section that Jim Colmar programs called South by Global, and that's 10 films from 10 different countries every year. Our Vision section is our more experimental or newer kind of unique voices. That's a very diverse program that's from all over the place. Yeah, there's definitely, we're open to seeing films from anywhere, any country, any genre. Every year we try to do outreach to different countries to increase the number of submissions we get so that we can have more things to choose from. But we're really just basing it on, we look at everything, and then we do want to find that diversity. We want to have Spanish language films. We want to have, films with filmmakers of color. We want to have, things from all over the place. Is it mainly U.S.? Absolutely. But we are looking every year for a diversity in our programming, and we want things from all over the place.
So you mentioned South by Global or South by Vision sort of as subsections within your programming. Where does that kind of section come from? Like, how does it get created?
Well, the sections are just a way to, digest all the films we're playing. Obviously, the two competition sections are the we think it's hard to actually say there's no clear and cut guidelines. It's usually first, second time filmmakers. We want people. It's more of a discovery in the competition sections. You're not going to usually find very big names. Maybe there'll be an actor here and there. And those are mainly, then that lends itself to the spotlight sections, which are our doc and our narrative spotlights, which are the more higher profile films that filmmakers have been making films for a while, films that have a bigger cast attached to it. The headliners are the 8 big big films that we call them, the opening night film, the closing night film, the films like the big studio films like Trainwreck or MacGruber or whatever the films we're playing that year, which are our big kind of headliner films. We have a music documentary section, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's the music docs, which we also play narratives in there too. It's called 24 Beach. Because the South by Southwest started as a music festival, we have a lot of music programming in all the sections. And so that is a way that we kind of handle that. The South by Global is 10 films that Jim Colmar has had programs, and he tries to just he's looking for really cool, really just interesting things from all over. There's not really a premiere status, guidelines for that. He's just looking for things that he really likes, and that's a really interesting section. And then the Visions, that's just we're trying to find films that are just a little crazier, a little weirder, more unique. There's something new or exciting about them, and that's what that section is for. And then obviously the midnight section are the genre films. And so the sections come about because we feel that these are the kind of the breadth of programming we want to showcase. And it's not a hard and fast number for each section. We keep it a little, except for the competition, which is 10 films of each year. We try to if there's, a couple, if there's more visions than festival favorites, and then festival favorites is another category, just films we've seen at other festivals that we like. And so it kind of fluctuates, more here, more there, more in one section, more than the other, depending on the year, depending on what's submitted.
But what's the impetus for creating a section around something? Like I would think you'd always be looking for something weird and interesting, and you'd always be looking for stuff internationally. Like, what purpose does codifying it as a section serve? Why do you have a section for that and not a section for social issue documentaries? Like, what makes you sit down and go, okay, we need a section for this?
Yeah, I mean, these have kind of evolved over time. They are the kind of the tent poles that we want to highlight at our festival. Obviously, the music documentaries, the genre films, the two competitions, the spotlight films, the headliners. We play, yes, our documentaries are a little bit more pop culture, character driven than social issue. We still do play social issue docs, but I would say we tend to skew more towards the character driven docs. It's just, if we just put 150 films out there and we're like, here's our program, we just think it would be a little bit too much information. Like, we want people, there's a lot of things happening at South by Southwest. There's a lot of music, a lot of conferences, a lot of conference sessions, a lot of parties, a lot of everything. So it's just, anytime that we can find a way to make it easier for people to understand what we're doing, I think helps. So making the individual sections, I think for any festival, it's just a way to kind of steer people to find films that they like. If you like genre films, then you look here for that. If you want to look for music documentaries, you can see that here. If you want more of the commercial product and not the things that are too weird or obscure, you'll stick in the spotlight and headliners. And so, it's a way to digest all that, and it's also a way for you to find films that you like based on what you like.
Gotcha. So it's sort of a handle for the audience who might be looking for a particular kind of film, but you can't exactly express that by calling it, categorizing it beyond narrative feature gets kind of hard depending, on how quote unquote indie it is, right?
Sure.
It also might be a way to keep yourself honest and say, this is what we're about. This is what we want to program. And if we have to, make sure we have a certain number of things in each of these categories, that, make sure that we're paying enough attention to that thing that we've said to the public, this is important to us.
Right. So, and just to clarify, we have about 40 international features every year. So about a third of the program is international.
Gotcha. So Destry in the Peanut Gallery asks, or says, South by Southwest has a good history with discovering great women-directed films. Is there anything special the festival does to discover new work by women?
We definitely are looking to, what we're looking in the submissions, and we're looking for female filmmakers. We're looking for filmmakers of color. We're looking for filmmakers that aren't from New York and LA. We want a diversity in the program in a lot of different areas. And, I think Janet Pearson, in particular, wants to make sure that every year we have a diversity in the number of female filmmakers we have. And we keep a tally every year, and not just across in each, in the features of the shorts, it's in each section. So we want, the narrative competition, the doc competition, we want every section to have a diversity. And the way we find them is, we have open submissions. We are looking for, we have, we're always looking for new voices, new filmmakers of female filmmakers, male filmmakers, anything. We're looking for just new voices in all kind of areas. There's not like a way that we're looking just for female filmmakers, but we do have a history of programming films from new and veteran female filmmakers. Maybe that shows people that we're open to having more films by female filmmakers, but we are always looking for new voices throughout the program. I know that Claudette, wants to program films by female filmmakers, and there's definitely this just a way like and we try to support them throughout their career. They hopefully come back to us, or they may go and get big and go somewhere else. But a film like a short film she programmed a couple of years ago called Sequin Rays ended up being kind of the starting point for the show on the Lifetime Network called Unreal. And so there's we have a history of a film like Lee Janiak, who did Honeymoon a couple of years ago, was a genre filmmaker, and now she's going to be doing the remake of The Craft. We love seeing filmmakers starting here and going on to other things, and yes, we definitely want to continue to promote female filmmakers and in all the areas in the festival.
Speaking of Claudette and Jim, who you mentioned earlier, I see they're both logged in and presumably listening. If they want to chime in on something that they either agree or disagree on, they're welcome to do so. They can poke me in the Q&A section, and I can either read what they've said or I can promote them to panelists. It's totally up to them and up to you.
Yeah, please poke Chris. You should poke Chris.
Yes. Well, to make sure they're ready, willing to join. Anyway.
I'm sure they'll poke you if they have something to say.
Well, there's a question about short film here, so I think I'll ask that, and if Claudette wants to jump in, we'll get there. And we're also going to talk about sort of decision-making, which we sort of skimmed over before, but I definitely want to ask more about that. So anonymous attendee, who apparently did not want to be singled out, asks, how long do you want a short film to be for acceptance?
Well, the official answer, short films or films under 40 minutes. Do we play that many 39-minute short films? Not very many. I think, I think Claudette would agree that, the majority of short films we play are between 5 and 12 minutes. There's definitely room for longer short films. There's definitely a film should be right length for the content, says Claudette, and I think that's a very good answer. But yes, we also have a medium cool section where we play longer shorts in a program with like 2 to 3 shorts. But so yeah, we're only playing a few of the longer form short films. Obviously Claudette programs about 13 short film sections. Those are narrative, documentary, animated, music videos, midnight shorts, and the longer it is, the better it has to be, and that's what she says too, which is also true. Every minute has to count in a short film program. There can't be a lot of fluff, and she is watching a lot of movies, a lot of films, and so if it needs to be 23 minutes, then it should be 23 minutes. But if it's a 12-minute film hiding in a 23-minute film, then you should figure that part out.
So our anonymous attendee, maybe the same one, asks, how do you make your final decisions?
The final decisions are made by the 4 programmers, myself, Claudette, Jim, and Janet. I make the final decisions for the Midnighters. Jim makes the final decisions for the Global. And Claudette makes the final decision for all the short films. We collaborate on the rest of the programming. Janet obviously makes a lot of decisions. She works with all of us, and and then we have some advanced screeners. When I say advanced, I mean people who are watching a lot of films that have been doing it for a long time that we really trust. They're also, we get their feedback too. But the people making the final decisions are the 4 of us.
Okay. South by Film is part of the larger South by Southwest, conference, which includes obviously music and interactive, but also all kinds of educational and eco and sports. And how much of the requirements or the desires of those different departments do you guys have to take into account when programming? How much interaction happens there?
We meet with the music festival to go over all the music films we have, because they have a better insight on, maybe niche artists that we aren't aware of, we definitely want them to watch our music documentaries and music-based films to help us and, give us, their, because they're coming at it from a different angle than we are. All the tech-related films, we try to run by our interactive department. South by Southwest EDU is an education conference that happens before South by Southwest, and they have a small film component that they are definitely working with us, collaborating on. Every year we probably do one secret film with South by Southwest EDU, a film that's going to premiere at South by Southwest proper. South by Southwest Eco Place Films, it's we like, everyone, but we're also, looking for at South by Southwest EDU, we're asking them about maybe conference people that they know of. So it's a very collaborative environment through all the conferences. We have meetings. The Convergence Department is a group within our festival that kind of has members from all the conferences that meet and talk about things. And, because there's so much going on and, there's so many ways to be involved at South by Southwest. We want insight from everyone, but ultimately, we have to take X number of this because, or, it's just, we're programming the film festival, and we are looking to the other departments for insight and feedback. But it ultimately just comes down to what's going to work for the festival and what the best films were that were submitted.
And nobody buys you lunch in order to make sure their favorite film gets in?
They can buy us lunch to make sure we listen to them, but I don't think nobody. There's just too many people. I mean, we have friends that make films every year that we can't play. We can't. It's just we have to just stick to playing the films that are right for us this year or that year, whatever year it is. Yeah, if people bought us lunch, it wouldn't be very, very good.
So this is Bobby who's asking if a documentary is shown at South by Southwest Eco, which is in November, is it then disqualified for South by Southwest Film in March?
I think it's usually the other way around. I think if a film plays South by Southwest, that it has an opportunity to play at South by Southwest Eco. As far as I know, there aren't many films premiering at South by Southwest Eco. They're more just showcasing films that, are fitting in with their programming. But yeah, I mean, that said, yes, if a film plays in Austin before South by Southwest Film, the 9 days of our film festival, it is not eligible. And that can be at South by Southwest Eco. It could be at, Austin Film Festival, Fantastic Fest, any place where it had a proper public screening. It's not eligible for South by Southwest.
Could you explain why that is? Because I think people don't understand sort of the regional premiere requirement a lot of the time.
Well, there's only so many films, and there has to be some sort of, if we played 10 things that Austin Film Festival played or Fantastic Fest played, and then there's 100, there's 7,500 films, and we're only taking a little over 200 of those. So there's just way too much content to be doubling up on things, and that's actually the only requirement we have for premiere status. Unless it's a competition, we do require world premiere for our narrative and doc competitions. That said, we've played a film that played Fantastic Fest, 1 or 2 times. Maybe we played something that played Austin Film Festival in the past. If the right film makes sense for whatever reason, we'll consider it. But that's usually a deal breaker if they're already played in Austin.
Yeah, it's unusual, and there's only one film I can think of that South by and Austin Film Festival have played, and that was Frog Jesus, which was a minute long, right? Like, you're not giving up a whole lot to play that one again, especially the bang that you get for that buck.
Yes, indeed.
Short films. Max asks, if I have 2 short films that I made this past year, should I submit them at the same time or stagger them and submit one per year?
Your call. And Claudette does love Frog Jesus. I mean, if you have 2 short films that are ready, then submit them. I mean, you don't have to wait. If you want to focus on one and this year and then focus on the next one the next year, then then that's cool too. Whatever you want. It's you know, people submit multiple things every year if they have multiple projects. So yeah, it's totally up to you, Max.
Cool. So September is coming up, and September and October in particular are the two busiest festival months of the year. Where are you going to be this September and October?
My usual places are the Toronto Film Festival, which is what we consider at South by Southwest the first programming festival that we program out of. And then from there we go to Independent Film Week in New York, which we have had a lot of good success finding projects there that would fit in with us, because usually if they're in post-production in September in New York, then they're probably not going to make the Sundance deadline. Some of them do, but a lot of those films are going to, you know, we're going to be one of the first festivals that they can consider premiering with. So that's a really good programming, and I just like the conference in general. So yes, IFP Week, Independent Film Festival Week, that is the next stop. And then we come back for Fantastic Fest in Austin. And then I go to Sitges, which is in Spain, which is south of Barcelona, which is one of the, if not the biggest, longest running genre film festivals in the world. 300 horror films, and on the coast of Spain. It's a pretty good time. I recommend it if you have the means. And then we go from there. It's there's all kind of, then we kind of split up. You know, Janet will go to different places. Jim's going to go to IDFA, and Jim's, you know, maybe CPH Docs, or Claudette is in, you know, various short film festivals, or she's coming with us to other festivals. Yeah, it's a lot of traveling, a lot of watching movies in beautiful locations, in small and like, you know, we're not getting to see the outside world, but we're just watching movies all the time.
Could be the same dark room in Boise or wherever.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So do you have any favorite festivals?
Sitges is just a wonderful festival. I mean, if you love genre film, the audiences there are amazing. The location is this really little idyllic seaside town with cobblestone streets, and the audiences are, you know, second to South by Southwest, I'd say. It's just a fun time. I love Toronto just because of the quality and the films. You know, I think Colin and all those guys just do really great programming. You know, I love Sundance. I love the Busan Film Festival in South Korea, where Claudette's going to be on the short jury this year. You know, there's a lot of great film festivals out there. I haven't been to, you know, things like Berlin or Telluride, but I hear those are really good. And yeah, those are my favorites.
Yeah, well, obviously South by and Fantastic Fest and Austin.
And Fantastic Fest, obviously.
Yeah.
We love Fantastic.
How about hidden gems? Like the one I always like to sort of go back to is the Oxford Film Festival.
Sure, I've never been there, but I heard great things. I heard great things about Maryland. I've been to the Milwaukee Film Festival, which is awesome. Which is like, you know, it's you know, these small regional festivals are, I mean, you know, if you live in the town, you should definitely be attending. But you know, as an attendee who just maybe wants to do like film festival vacations, I mean, you get, you know, it's a lot easier to get into movies. They're playing films that South by and Sundance and all these other festivals have played. You know, they're much smaller and more, you know, intimate, and but yeah, there's tons of you know, examples like that, you know, throughout, you know, either it's Sarasota, or it's you know, AFI Fest in LA, or LAFF, or, you know, those aren't really regional festivals, but they're, you know, every film festival I think has something to share. And then you have, you know, like True False, and you know, I wish I could go to True False. That just sounds like the best time ever.
Doesn't it?
I know.
True False and Full Frame are the two that I really need to get my butt to at some point. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of film festivals that aren't fun. I mean, it's, you know, watching films with the people who made them in a room with people who want to be there with, like you know, it's not, you're not at your local Regal where on a, you know, Thursday night where you got people on their cell phones and stuff. It's usually people who want to be there and love filmmaking, and I mean, love film at least. And Yeah.
And you have the opportunity to meet the filmmaker most of the time. I mean,
Yeah, hopefully. Yep.
Even at the small ones, filmmakers, in some number tend to show up. There are a number of small festivals that keep popping up in Texas. I mean, not that I've been to most of them, but Lone Star and Victoria and
exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The Marfa Film Fest.
Marfa, yes, which I have been to, and yeah, it's amazing. I have a follow-up question on Vimeo screeners. Asking why Vimeo is, but what's so special about Vimeo?
Vimeo has a feature called Watch Later, and you can. It just makes it really easy. I mean, the quality is really good. We like the interface, and then, so if you're submitted, we recommend every film we have is a password protected link, and so, when we add a film to our queue and put the password in, and then put it to the Watch Later, we can go on our Apple TV or Roku or whatever you're using, and look at the Watch Later list there without re-putting in the passwords. And so it really speeds up the process. It makes it, it makes the process doable. And then we kind of have to deal with all the other screeners, which we are happy to do. It's just, if we have a preference, it would be Vimeo.
Anonymous attendee, we're hearing a lot from that guy or girl, asks, if a film is rejected one year, do you like it if it's submitted again the following year?
If it's a different film, yes. If it's the same exact film that you're just like, oh, maybe the right person didn't watch it, then probably that's not going to work. We've had every year there's one or two films that submitted the previous year and then, took a step back, took our constructive criticism into account and, came back the next year with the film that, maybe they wanted to actually make and we've accepted it. So there's, we're more than happy to watch additional or the film again if it's changed, if there's been, if you kind of took it apart, put it back together, if you changed it up a lot, if you, went and shot additional footage or, but if it's just, the same movie with color correction or, you just did a little bit, changes, then I just wouldn't waste your time.
You mentioned constructive criticism. Is there a large number of films that you give feedback to?
We are, I don't know if one of the only festivals, but we definitely offer feedback to every film that was submitted to our festival. If you, we offer in April every year. I think this year Claudette gave feedback to over 500 short films. The features, we definitely did a couple hundred of those between Jim and myself. But yeah, we are happy to do that. I mean, it's rare that film festival programmers get to work year round. And we are a few of the lucky ones that get to do that. So, and it's a service that we think is invaluable. I mean, we love doing it because it's helping these filmmakers grow. It's maybe, maybe we're the only people telling them giving them honest feedback. I mean, I know whenever I watch a film by a friend or, it's hard to kind of give them, the honest truth, to what, maybe what you feel. Like you just want to be nice and you just, and we hear it time after time, we send back things that you would think people would be upset about. And they're like, thank you for telling me that. Thank you for being honest. Thank you that's going to help me grow as a filmmaker. And those are the kind of people that are going to go on and make films, that are going to find an audience because they're willing to grow and they're willing to listen to outside, sometimes critical statements, but, and a lot of times they're like, yeah, I know that was bad. Thank you for confirming that or whatever. But I think it's one of the coolest things we do is offer feedback.
How many of your submitters would you guesstimate are first-time filmmakers?
A lot. I mean, just based on the number of, we played 150 feature films this year.
And that includes documentaries?
Narratives and docs, yes. It's a common. We play it's probably like a, 80, 70. It's like a little bit more narratives than there are docs, just based on how it is every year. but that number is both docs and narratives, and 100 of them are world premieres, and I think it was something like 75 of them were first-time filmmakers. So yes, we are definitely looking for first-time filmmakers. We want new voices. So that's,
Now you would say that reflects the actual submitters as well? I mean, 75% is definitely high for being...
Well, not 75%. I guess it would be more like 75, so 50%.
Oh, sorry.
75 films out of the 150. That's a good question. I haven't looked at that as to the number of first-time filmmakers that have actually submitted each year, but
well, it's not something that gets asked as a standard thing. I think it's something that has to get just sort of estimated, guesstimated.
No, we ask. We ask if it's your first time. Yep.
Well, look at you. I would like back-end access to your database, please. All kinds of interesting questions could be answered there. And
absolutely.
It's worth mentioning that South by does not use any of the standard without a box, or unless that's changed and I didn't hear about it.
It's not changed. We did not use Film Freeway or Without a Box or anything else. We have an entire tech department, dozens of people that work year round doing our e-commerce site and our website and our applications and our registration. So we handle it all in house, and that's what we do.
Well, for full disclosure, I should mention that Film Freeway is one of the partners of the Film Festival Secrets podcast. Just keep everything above board. And
Film Freeway, great.
Talk to you, but yes, I think lots of programmers have been very happy to see, a competitor giving Without a Box a run for their money.
Yeah, now Without a Box did something else new, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, Film Freeway. That we looked at Film Freeway, and if we did anything, if we used, a third party. Film Freeway looked like the way to go.
Well, I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that. We got one last question before we talk a little bit about tacos. The Ardley asks, you mentioned the Milwaukee Film Festival. Are there other lesser-known fests that attract programmers from big fests?
Oh, that's a good question. The big, the programmers from Big Fest are usually invited to be on a jury, just because of the nature of how the film festival world works. There's not a ton of festival programmers that I know of that just go and try to find, smaller regional festivals to attend for fun or for programming. So yes, I think it's just based on depends on the festival and depends on what their goal is. If their goal is to invite industry and programmers to attend and be part of their festival, then yes, I know Milwaukee does that. I know a lot of Sarasota. Any festival is going to invite jury members and people to talk, and so as programmers we're invited all over the place all the time. So.
And programmers do find films that way. I mean, it's not that common, but it's not super rare either.
Sure.
And a really great way to find out if that's a standard practice at a festival you're considering is to go look at their program guide from the previous year. Most of them have a download, of a PDF or something of the program guide, and just look and see who was on their jury. It's a great way to figure that out. Claudette says, last year, filmmakers who said yes, it was their first feature film, about 1,500 out of 2,500 feature film submissions.
Yeah, so about 60%.
That's pretty. I mean, it's nice to have hard numbers on at least one festival. Most festivals tell me, anywhere between 50 and 80% of the submissions they get are from first-time filmmakers. So apparently we don't ask short filmmakers. Claudette Godfrey, short stars and info expert. Thank you so much, Claudette. All right. Well, let me pay some bills here for a second. I want to mention that this recording you're listening to is part of the Film Festival Secrets Seed and Spark campaign to raise funds for a season of episodes like these, which will then become the second edition of the book Film Festival Secrets. Please visit getmoresecrets.com to learn more about that and become a contributor. Only contributors will be able to listen to future recordings. So if you had a good time doing this, please consider signing up. And one of the perks that I'm offering is fee waivers to 17 different film festivals for $200. And if you multiply 17 times 30 or 50 or whatever it is, it comes up to much more than $200. So that's a pretty decent deal.
Cool.
Okay, now tell me about tacos and the book that you're currently writing.
Oh, sure. Tacos are a food that is delicious.
Tell me more.
In 2006, Justin Bankson and myself both work at South by Southwest, and we still do both work here. This was like pre-Yelp, and we were just, the slower days of South by when we had a little bit more free time during the summer. We would just, every day for lunch, we'd try to find a new place to eat, a new taco place, a new burger place, whatever. And then there was a guy in LA called El Bandito, and he he had a site called the Great LA Taco Hunt, and it was just him going to trailers, to taquerias, and like writing like real reviews about them. Not just like a one or two sentences, like really like looking at the flavors of the al pastor or how they made the tortillas, and like just really taking it seriously. And we, Justin and I both enjoy reading and writing, and so we were like, hey, this is great, like no one else is really doing this in Austin, let's try. Obviously the Chronicle's been covering food forever, the state's been, but this was right whenever blogging was starting to become a thing. And so we started a WordPress blog and just started writing about taco places. A couple years later, we won, Best of Austin award. We got interviewed by the New York Times and, all these different places. And, we just kept going. And then 2 or 3 years ago, a publisher out of Savannah, Georgia, the History Press, came to us asking us if we wanted to write a book about Austin breakfast tacos. And we said, absolutely. And so we wrote that book. And had a lot of fun doing it, and it ended up being one of the top 5 bestsellers in Austin that year. And then from that, it was just the UT Press came calling and said, okay, that was a great book, you guys did great. What's next? And so our ideas was just like I want to know about all the tacos of Texas, and so like all the different regions, like what's different, what's the same, what are the stories. And so we just have been. This last weekend was our first weekend of traveling throughout the state. We did Brownsville, McAllen, and Laredo. Brownsville, McAllen being the Rio Grande Valley, and Laredo being another border town. And we hit about 15 to 20 different places in those towns. We have a video series that we're putting together that may end up being a short, maybe some sort of documentary feature. We have.
Wait. There's sort of like the snake eating its own tail at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll happen. We'll see. But we're getting a lot of footage, and it looks like it could end up being something bigger than the book. The book, worst case scenario, we get a book out of it, and the book is going to be, full of pictures, full of stories, full of tacos, and. Yeah.
You even include tacos as part of the festival, don't you?
Oh yeah, we have a taco meetup. We have 2 taco meetups.
2 taco meetups.
Yeah, we have a taco meetup for the first half for Film and Interactive. We have a taco meetup for the music half.
Your cup runneth over, Jarod.
Yeah, and then we also have a whole food section. Now we have South Bites, which is a programming section that is a convergence section open to Film and Interactive badges that is one part, curated food trailer parking lot, part food conference where we talk to chefs and talk about food and food and tech and all kind of different stuff. So yeah, yes, Austin people like tacos. It's not a hard sell.
Jarod, thank you for talking to me about tacos and about film and South by Southwest. This has been a blast. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you, Claudette, shorts programmer for South by Southwest, for chiming in via text. I appreciate it. Tell people where they can find you online, Jarod Neece.
I'm J Neece most places, Twitter and Facebook.
Can you spell that out for folks?
Yeah, sure. JNEECE. That's Twitter and Facebook. And then the taco is taco journalism. Taco journalism is the name of our website. The Tacos of Texas is the name of our most recent book. And then the first book we wrote was Austin Breakfast Tacos, the story of the most important taco of the day. And then southbysouthwest.com/film for all the South by related info. And I'm sure other places too.
Jarod Neece, senior film programmer and festival producer for South by Southwest. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
You've been listening to the Film Festival Secrets podcast. I want to thank our guest, Jarod Neece, one more time. Please visit the fundraising campaign for the second edition at getmoresecrets.com. Otherwise, you can find me on the web at filmfestivalsecrets.com and on Twitter at ffsecrets. See you next time.